Hello, world. Welcome back to Golf Subpar with Colt, Knost, and Drew Stoltz. Sleaze, a TCU Horn Frog is the latest winner on the PGA Tour. Tom Hoge gets it done at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
How about it? Been a long time since J.J. Henry hoisted some crystal, you know what I mean? About time to get a frog in there. If it couldn't be me, which it's not, glad it's Tom Hoge. What a guy. I mean, 202 starts, I believe, since he got on the PGA Tour. He's knocked on the door a few times. Most recently, I mean, down in La Quinta, had a chance, finished runner-up to Hudson Swafford, and he didn't do anything to lose it. Hudson just kind of took it with the eagle on 16, birdie on 17, but he's been knocking on the door, and damn, what a way to get it done. Not only at Pebble Beach, pretty good spot to do it, but you're looking up after his double on 5, he's got Jordan Spieth, Patrick Cantlay. Those are two guys that give up the lead too often when they get it.
Yeah, he's been playing great. He's been on a roll. I mean, I just love the way he goes about it. I mean, listen, he's a gambler on and off the golf course,
Correct.
Which I respect tremendously. But, you know, when you think about the way he plays golf, Pebble Beach is a perfect fit. I mean, really small, tiny greens. The fairways aren't that hard to hit. You got to be really precise with your irons, and that's what he does. And he switched to a new putter recently, and the putt on 17, my God, I mean, that was just massive. Pretty much, I've never seen a tournament flip-flop so fast. I was covering Jordan Spieth's group for CBS. He's got a 2-shot lead through 16. All of a sudden, bam, Jordan makes bogey on 17. Hoge almost damn near holds it on 16.
How about that shot?
Flips it, then he birdies 17. I'm like, this thing just went from, it looked like a Jordan Spieth was going to cruise,
most likely,
to now Tom Hoge's cruising.
Just not layup. Sure, didn't feel like I know it didn't feel like a layup to Tom, but walking into 18, you get to hit a hybrid off that tee. He had to hit an 8-iron up over the tree for a second. He had by the way, he hit 7-iron, and we had him on the radio this morning. He's like, that was a 7-iron, and he's like, it's a little more than I would have ideally liked to have in there, but hit a hell of a shot. And then the 2 putts, he's like, I looked back, I had the 4-foot comeback or whatever, and I know Bo's 2 back, and I look back and I see Bo in the middle of the fairway, and I'm like, immediately, of course, it's your first time trying to get a win, and he's like, I know Bo's gonna make eagle, so he's like, I have to make. So he felt like that was the one to win the golf tournament. But you're right, dude, it flipped. I mean, the shot on 16, probably the shot of his life, that 9-iron that damn near found it, and then he, see something you don't see too often from Jordan Spieth with a little hiccup, short miss on 17 with an iron that I'm sure he loved when it came off the face.
Yeah, he flushed it. First off, I'm glad he just had the opportunity to make bogey on 17, because what we saw on Saturday on number 8, I was there. It was so freaking scary, dude. I went over there and walked to where his ball was on the edge of the cliff. I took a stance, and I said, there is no way in hell I'd hit this ball. Joe Greiner, Max Homa's caddy, texted me, said, no chance I let Max hit the ball. Michael Greller begged him not to hit that golf ball. At the end of the day, Jordan thought he could do it. He pulled it off, but whew, dude, my palms were sweaty sitting there watching it. I mean, I was about 50 yards up in front of him on the left, looking back, and I'm like, what happens if this foot slips? Like,
I know what happens, and it ain't good. I saw the ball from the overhead view. I was like, no chance he even has a stance. I don't think he's just going to pull it back and hit an iron, and then he gets up there and he takes a stance. I'm like, oh, my God, I think he's going to hit this thing. Like, it's getting a lot of attention on Twitter and social media and all that stuff. Like, come on, it's a golf shot. I'm like, dude, you're dead. Like, I don't freak out too much about golf shots, but I was like, that one's, especially on a Saturday, not even the final round for a guy that, if he wants to win, of course, for his legacy, but it doesn't change his life. If he wins, I could almost see it if it was a Sunday and it's like, okay, it's closing time, or B, if it's a guy, let's say it's Tom Hoge there on a Sunday and the same, it's like, dude, a win changes your life at that point. And you're like, maybe I can just slap it down there and I don't got to, take a drop and do all that. But for Jordan Spieth to do it on a Saturday, I was floored by that.
As one of the few guys I think that actually got to go over there and stand and see exactly what it was like, man, I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know what to say. Like, I was just trying to somehow not make light of a situation that could be very, very serious, but at the same time not be like, holy shit, this guy might just die right here. Yeah. Which is what, honestly, if the front foot
slips, what everyone was
thinking.
What's
going to happen.
Yeah, which is what everyone was thinking. It's like, they need to fence that thing off going forward, because now everybody's going to walk over and be like, oh, this is where Jordan hit it from. Like Sergio at Medina from behind the tree, where everyone that showed up there started hitting the shot that they had to put like a plaque and rope it off because the grass was just dying over there. People are going to walk over and be like, oh, this is where it went down. Could be some problems. You get a few too many trannies up in you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yep.
But congratulations to Tom Hoge. That was very well earned. He's been playing great. It was awesome to see. Before we get going, I got to tell you a little bit about our friend Gary Woodland, who I'm not very happy with right now.
Just with him Saturday. What did he do?
Well, I was very nice. I was gone at Pebble Beach last week, and I gave him my car for the week.
Yep.
Because rental cars, they're pretty expensive nowadays, and he had to rent 2 because he got the whole family coming in. So I flew to Pebble. He goes, hey, I'll drop your car off at Signature because I'm flying back in. I was like, perfect. He sends me a picture with it on empty on gas tank. The gas tank was empty. And then he said, have you ever played the game Find the Poopy Diaper? Because he's got 3 kids. And I was like, I'm going to kill you. He's like, yep, there's a poopy diaper in your car somewhere. Go ahead and get ready to look for it. He was obviously kidding. It showed up full tank of gas, and it was washed. But my Bluetooth connected to the phone.
Here we go.
And as I'm driving, I see this little pop up, and it says Little Dick as the name of my Bluetooth.
Little Dick.
And I guess, obviously, he thought I probably wouldn't notice for a little while. So I immediately call him, and he just answers, just dying laughing.
Oh, dude. I didn't even know if you knew about that yet. So I was out at TPC on Saturday fulfilling some Thunderbird duties.
Oh,
right?
wow.
We're in the parking lot, right? Your car pulls in. I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, it's scary, right? So I'm like, immediately stop. I'm like, hey, sir, can I see a credential or whatever? He's like, hey, what's up? We start talking. And he's like giggling, and I'm like, he's like, look at this, look at this, look at this. He points me into the screen. He's like, look, I changed his name to Little Dick on here. And he was laughing like he was in 8th grade. I was just dying. He was going out to practice. He's like, don't tell him. I want it to be a surprise when he gets back.
God, he is such an idiot.
Oh, God. And yeah, then we ended up playing golf the next day. I had a great crew out there with some of the fellas, and he was still laughing about it. I was like, dude, I changed it to Little Dick.
He's so proud of himself. And by the way, I haven't been home long enough to try to fix it. I have no clue how to even start.
LD, that might be the new name.
But I'll try to figure it out. But you might notice this hat. Because this week is the greenest show on turf, the WM Phoenix Open, which you'll be at. I'll be out there covering for Golf Channel and CBS this week. I'm going to be wearing this thing all around TPC Scottsdale. I'm going to actually have some to throw out into the crowd on 16 on Saturday, so be on the look for that. These are special.
It's a hot look, right here, bro. Aren't they? Hot look, LD. I love you in that thing.
But I played the Monday Pro-Am out there, and the course is looking incredible. The ball is bouncing. Greens are perfect, by the way, and the weather looks incredible. I cannot wait for this week to get going.
Pushing 80 all week. Ooh. Fans are going to be out. We just had our first ever concert at the Coliseum on 16 in between, dude. Old Dominion, Thomas Rhett. It was a scene.
I saw videos. Unbelievable.
Christened the place nicely, fully lubed up. 16. It's ready to go for some action. That's awesome. That's going to happen going forward now. It was such a success. Next year's Super Bowl, some names being floated around already that might be showing up for that, but that's awesome. It's like this thing starts now, a week in advance, and people are. I think we stopped keeping attendance records back in 2018 because it's just too hard and it gets too big. But this will probably be the most ever through the gates.
Great. Can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be...
I bet everyone will say some really nice things to me as I'm rolling through the fairway.
You're going to be perfect. I'd wear rain gear on 16 if you're set up there. There can be some, well-lubricated fans. But if you're tossing out green BJ's hats, you know what I mean, from the LD, you'll be fine. They're going to love you.
Sleeves, we got a banger of an episode this week. This one, I'm very, very excited about to see what everybody thinks. One of the legendary golf instructors in the game, became very famous when he started working with Tiger Woods. He's worked with Mark O'Meara in the past. Wrote a book that was very controversial. Some people liked it, some people hated it. But Hank Haney sits down with us for an hour, and it is fantastic.
One of the few people in the world who's been able to be inside the inner circle of Tiger Woods and share that space. And I would say arguably the only guy who's willing to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And he comes out and he opens up. We, of course, get into almost exclusively Tiger stuff. That's what everyone wants to know. And we've heard a lot of stories. We've been around a lot of golfers. I was just captivated by what he was saying because I hadn't heard it face to face firsthand, and it is some interesting stuff. This is a really genuinely very, very interesting interview.
Yep. I don't want to spoil any of it. Let's get to it. Here's Hank Haney on Golf Subpar.
All right. The man with us here today, one of the most renowned swing instructors in the game, worked with elite talents, all of them. Tiger, Mark O'Meara, Barkley, Ray Romano, you name it. The man has his fingerprints all over him. Hank Haney in the building. How we doing, Hank?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be with you guys. This is like an honor to be with you guys here.
Oh, man. Honor for us.
Honor for us. First off, you've traded in the golf hat for pickleball now.
I know.
You're diehard pickleball.
I love pickleball. Golf and pickleball, two greatest games in the world, for sure. I'm a pickleball nut. I feel like my best golf is behind me, 67 years old. I feel like my best pickleball is not behind me.
Okay,
so
perfect.
That's my logic on pickleball, and I keep trying to get better. I like getting better at stuff. And I like studying, learning, and it's fun.
Do you get more frustrated when pickleball doesn't go right or when golf used to not go right?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Probably both. I'm not real pleased with myself when I hit a bad pickleball shot, and I'm decent pickleball player. But I'm not, a great pickleball player. It's like, I win some tournaments, and then I think, what did I just win? I won like the second flight of the club championship. What the hell is that? It's like, I'm not a pro, and so it's weird playing in tournaments when you win, but you win in like the second flight. So,
Yeah.
so you didn't really win anything.
You got to win
Win's a
second
win.
flight before you win the
That's
championship,
true.
though.
That's true.
I got to, like, as pickle gets more and more popular, so many golfers are
Yeah.
getting into it. Like, we got a bunch of buddies, myself included. I prefer to play pickle now over golf if I got it. And I get way more pissed off after losing in pickleball to my friends than I would if I lost them on the golf course.
All right.
And like 5 years ago, it would have been flipped.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
I know you're up at Gazer. Matt Kuchar's turned into a big
He's
pickleball
good.
player, I think. He's good at, seems like pretty much everything
he's
he does.
good.
Hand eye.
He's got
good
some
at it.
serious pickleball game. Really good. I mean, he's like a 5-0 player for sure. I mean, he's a good player.
Yeah,
He's
same with
really
his
good.
pong.
He's like way better than me. We played in the finals of the like club championship. It was a partner deal, and he's tough.
Yeah.
Any other tour guys you've seen their game on the courts? I heard Daniel Summerhays is really good.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
name
really
that gets
good.
bounced around.
Phil Mickelson's a good player. Really good.
Phil was
saw him.
modeling his Tom Brady
No, he's good.
pickleball line the other day.
He's good. I mean, Ricky Barnes is a good player.
Barnes,
he's a really
yeah.
good player. I think he's like one of the better players I've seen. I mean, he's got just, he's a great athlete, but he's just got good instincts for the game. I mean, it's interesting because pickleball is like golf in certain ways. I mean, one way is that, you have to have power. I don't have a lot of that, but you also turn around and you hit a powerful shot and then you immediately hit a touch shot. And that's where the similarity, I think, is in golf. You can hit that long shot, but then now all of a sudden you got to hit a pitch or a chip or a putt, and you got to have great touch. And it's like instantaneous. I mean, the hard one, then you go immediately to a soft one. And a lot of guys can't do that. And that's one of the things that's cool about the game, I think.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I never really thought about that.
And if you only got
as
one of the
comparison.
two,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
you're
problem
not
against the
playing.
guy that's got
You're not-
both.
Yeah, the guys that bang it all the time,
Yeah.
they're not, you're going to beat them. The guy that's just got a soft game only, he can't go either. So it's like golf in that way right now.
I like it. Well, let's get to know you a little bit better here. Let's go back to the beginning. What got you into the game of golf?
Oh, man. My dad played golf. I mean, I played golf. I played like golf. I didn't start till I was like 12 years old. I played every sport. Honestly, I was the best player in every team I was ever on, and my teams always sucked. and and then as soon as I got into golf, I thought, okay, this is all me. And if I don't do good, it's all me. I don't have to worry about anybody else. And I think that was the thing that I really loved about the game. And I loved the challenge of it. I mean, it's so incredibly hard that you hit that one good shot and. Same way it grabs everybody, I think. You hit that one good shot and you think, why can't I do it again? So I just gravitated towards golf. And I was a hockey player, and a golfer. And I was probably better at hockey, but I was a little small. And then I got a golf scholarship to University of Tulsa. And then, I said, well, I'm going to be a golfer. And then I just love coaching. So I majored in education there. And I started coaching. Like during school, one of my classes was to coach golf at the rec centers in Tulsa, and then as soon as I got done, I just started coaching golf.
So no interest in trying to play
Yeah, did
professionally.
you chase it at all?
I was a decent player. I mean, I played. I was an all-conference golfer, whatever that means. But Ron Streck was my roommate, and I think I beat like Ron I think I beat him one time in college. It was like a qualifying round, and I shot like 62 and he shot 63 and he was so pissed he wouldn't talk to me for like 2 days. We were roommates, okay? And that was like the only time I ever beat him. And I'm like, people think they can play. You guys know this. I mean, and when you can't play. I mean, and it's a big difference.
know.
And you've always been, I've known you for quite a long time. You've always been one of the very honest ones about it, whether someone's got it or someone doesn't. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are probably wasting their time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, if you see somebody that can really play, and Ron had a good career. I mean, won a couple times on the PGA Tour, one on the Champions Tour, one on the Nike Tour. But, I mean, it's not like he was the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, his level was just so different than the level that I was playing at. And I didn't want to try to play. And then all of a sudden, you're 28 years old and you've never had a real job in your life. So at 23, I was the director of instruction for the Pinehurst Golf Schools, the biggest golf resort in the world. Wow. And, I thought, this is this is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good at age 23. And it was while you were down there, I believe, you got your first, if you want to call it like big break.
Yeah.
Your first, like every teacher, you kind of need a pro, I think, to get you
100%.
started, to give you credibility. That's where you got yours, huh?
Yeah, Mark O'Meara. I mean, if I didn't meet Mark O'Meara, nobody'd know who Hank Haney was. I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys. I wouldn't have had all the great opportunities I've had in the game of golf. I mean, you can think you're good, you can, be confident and all those things, but you got to be able to prove it. And you have to have a great student. And I was lucky. I mean, if you have one Mark O'Meara in your career, and I've had more than one, but if you had one Mark O'Meara in your career, you're a lucky coach for sure. And I met Mark. He was 124th on the money list on the PGA Tour. And, 2 years later, he was second on the money list. So, all of a sudden people thought, Hank Haney must know something. And I felt like I knew a lot about the backswing. I probably didn't know too much about the downswing. I didn't give any refunds, but you do the best you can. You keep trying to get better. But Mark was for sure.
How'd it start? Like, how'd you get in touch with him?
He was on the driving range, and a good friend of mine, Ken Crow, was on one of our teachers, and Mark said, "Hey, would you watch me hit some balls?" And there was like 2 tournaments to go in the year, and Ken said, "Well, let me get somebody else." And he went and got me, and Ken drugged me out there, and I didn't even want to go because I thought this is one of his club pro buddies that just missed the cut, and he wants me to watch him. And it'd been a long way. I didn't really want to do it. So anyway, he drags me out there. It was Mark O'Meara, and I stood back there, and Mark said, "Would you watch me hit some?" And I stood there for seemed like a long time. And he said, "Are you going to say anything?" And I said, "I'm thinking about what you need to do." I said, "Why don't we go inside? We'll have a little, Coke or something. And I'll talk about what I think your plan should be." And he said, "I don't have any time for that." He said, "If you just start telling me something," he says, if I don't make these last 2 cuts, I'm not going to be on the PGA Tour." But anyway, we went in and we sat down, and we started working that weekend. And, then he just gradually got better. He kept his card, and 2 years later, he was knocking on the door all the time. And the thing is, though, back then, there wasn't a lot of that. See, I was really the first. A lot of people don't realize that. I was like one of the first people to do that. Because back in the day, when I started coaching, all the top teachers were teaching golf schools. They weren't teaching pros. And in fact, Mark is the one who told Nick Faldo, he says, "You got to get a coach." And Nick Faldo went and got up with David Ledbetter, but it started with Mark and I, and just Mark, he's you guys know him, and he's just a great guy, and he's got a big mouth too. He likes to talk, so he was just singing my praises all the time. Because a lot of guys you help and they won't say a word, and Mark wasn't like that. So he really he is the whole reason that I've had so many great things happen to me in golf. It's all because of him.
I want to, since we're on the topic of Mark O'Meara, I want to talk a little bit about that '98 season because he obviously wins 2 majors, which one of the best seasons you can possibly have in the game of golf. Did you see that type of golf coming, or was that something just kind of be like, oh boy, he got hot and just rode it out that whole year?
Well, the one thing is like to win, you've got to be able to make the last putt. I mean, that's the thing. And I always say, like, to win a major, you probably got to make putts on 2 of the last 3 holes. And Mark could always do that. Like Mark, a lot of people don't know this, but the top finishing rates in the history of the PGA Tour, and I'm talking about on the lead or tied for lead on Sunday, it's like Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, and Mark O'Meara. So Mark Mark won 18 times on tour, enough to make it to the Hall of Fame, but he didn't win like Tiger or Jack or anything. But he was a great finisher. So if he could get there, he would usually get the job done. So that's a great trait to have. So, but I didn't know, if he would make. I always told Mark, I said, "You're a great player." He said, "Hank, I'm not a great player." He said, Jack Nicklaus is a great player. Tiger Woods is a great player. He said, I'm a good player. I'm not. I said, "You're a great player." He said, "No, I'm not a great player." Anyway, when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, I texted him. I said, "They don't have any good players in the Hall of Fame."
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
He sounds like a golfer. But being that, like, if you take just from a talent perspective, those other names you just mentioned in terms of clothes, those are like the elite, most talented guys. Some of his God-given. You can't teach what a lot of those guys have. And to do that with Mark, make him a 2-time major champion, or help him become a 2-time major champion, as a teacher, that's got to be a pretty big feather in the cap, I would think, even maybe more so than having one of those elite guys and help him continuing.
100%, because you look at where he went from 124th on the money list to Hall of Fame. had a great time helping Tiger. You know, his win percentage was incredible when I helped him. He won 45% of the time, but he was great before I ever was there. You know, did he get better statistically? Yes. You know, win percentage, yes, but not like Mark O'Meara. You know, I mean, that's the difference. When you take somebody from that level and you get to the ultimate. To me, the ultimate. I mean, Hall of Fame. It doesn't get any better than that. So it's it's fortunate to be an instructor and have that opportunity.
It's hard to win that many times without like some sort of crazy kind of elite talent. Like I'm longer than everybody, or I'm the world's best putter, or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And he wasn't like, you know, he was just steady. He just steady. But his formula for winning was, you know, tight. You know, no 3 putts, no penalty shots. Got to hole a couple bombs. Probably have to chip in somewhere in 72 holes or hole a shot, and you know, get the ball up and in. I mean, it's just a tight formula. Not like Tiger. You know, Tiger could win a lot of different ways. I mean, Mark had to win with one specific formula, and that's, you can't win that much with that formula. But he won, you know, his fair share for sure.
It's just the margin of error is
the
way
margin
smaller.
Right, for sure. But it was a different game then too.
Yes,
That's
it
true.
was. No doubt about it. It would be interesting to see like what kind of career he would have if he played now.
Yeah. Well, he'd still do good because he can make that last putt.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to make that last putt, and he can do it, and he can hit the shot when he has to, and he always could, and that's something that, you know, he didn't really learn from me. He just had it. So you've got to be able to do that. You know, I know the game's different. It's changed. I mean, but there's still certain golf courses. I mean, Colin Morikawa's not super long, and he's, you know, doing pretty darn good. Now, you know, there's courses where you wouldn't pick him as the favorite, but there's a lot of courses where he can do just fine.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Well, through your relationship with Mark, I believe, is how you got to know Tiger.
Yeah.
Obviously, very well.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with Tiger before you started working with him?
Well, I coached the Haney kids who you know from Dallas, and they were friends with Tiger. So I'd met Tiger, you know, quite a few times, even before Mark knew Tiger. And then, you know, obviously I was around Tiger a lot with Mark because whenever we'd practice at Alworth, where they both lived, you know, Tiger would always be there, so we would play with them and practice with them. And, you know, I always had a good relationship with Tiger. And, you know, when Tiger was looking for a coach, it's a short list you're picking from, you know, and if you're Tiger Woods, and I was one of the people on that list. So, you know, it worked out pretty good for me. I mean, when he called me, you know, and I pinched myself, and he said, would you, you know, help me? And you know, you can't believe you're getting that call. You know, I mean, no matter how good you are or your resume or whatever, it's an incredible opportunity to work with arguably the greatest player ever. And, you know, then he asked me, you know, what do you think about my game? And I said, probably the biggest understatement of all time. I said, I think it's pretty good.
It's all right. You're on the right track, kid.
He says, what do you think I need to do to be better? And I said, you know, it's hard for me to tell what your plan is. I said, you know, you got obviously great knowledge and, you know, a great player and everything, but I think you need to have a better plan from, you know, A to Z to take you, you know, to where you could possibly be. And then I really just thought, you know, I get in there and I'll just, you know, just get out of his way, don't screw him up, and everything will be fine. And then, you know, I got in there and it was a little more difficult, obviously, than you thought, because you know, certain things that people like think about his game or say about his game, you know, they're not really accurate.
Yeah, and I would say from all the guys he's worked with, I mean, there's only a handful of coaches he's worked with, but his swing changed the most working with you visually wise.
Yeah.
Like to the average guy at home, I would say you could look and be like, okay, that swing looks different than what it did before or after.
Yeah. And, you know, he played better too.
A
lot of people don't realize that, but, you know, like I tell people, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but no one's entitled to their own facts. So when you look at the statistics, that's what the statistics say. Is ball striking, you know, and everything but his fairways hit, which people used to pick on me. I said, that's not an important statistic. I said, the important statistic is, you know, all he has to do is just be able to find his ball. You know, as long as you don't take penalty strokes and you hit it as far as he did, That's fine. And now when they have the strokes gained statistics off the tee, you look back, and during the years I coached him, he was top 10 in strokes gained off the tee. But everybody would pick on he's not hitting very many fairways. Yeah, but he's hitting it forever. Yeah. So it changed for sure. We tried, just tried to eliminate his bad shot, and I always based my coaching around hitting the 9 shots with Tiger. Straight ball, low, medium, and high. Right to left, low, medium, and high. Ball starting right, curving back to the target, but not past the target. And then left to right, low, medium, and high. And that was the whole thing that drove us all the time. And, he'd call me and say, I got my draws going, I can't hit my fades. I got my fades going, I can't hit my draws. I got the ball up, I can't get it down. And that was just always the way it went, just trying to keep everything in balance.
When Tiger calls you and you get that phone call, you're probably the most excited you've ever been in your life. I would assume most teachers in the world dream of working with the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But you also got to know when you hang that phone up, like, okay, he's under the microscope more than any athlete, I would say, in the world. And now all of his results are going to be a direct reflection on me as a teacher. That's got to be a ton of, the most pressure you can have.
Yeah. You concentrate on just doing your job, doing the best you can. I didn't really feel that when I was coaching with him, although I remember when one stretch he won 7 tournaments in a row. I thought, they'll be off my ass for at least a couple of weeks.
That buys me one loss.
But you don't kind of think about it because you're just trying to get better. Like that's the way I think. I always just try to get better. And Tiger's all like that. He was always like, what do we need to do next? He'd win a tournament. He'd call me the next morning. What's the plan now? What do we need to do to get better? That's just how it was. So it's always pushed on. There's no celebrating anything. Majors a little more, but the normal tournaments, they didn't mean much to him. It just push on. Let's just keep trying to get better. And you don't feel it so much when you're in it, but you feel it like when you're out of it. So it's like the analogy is like if a frog jumps in a pot of boiling water, it'll immediately jump out. But if the frog's in the pot and you turn the heat on, it'll stay in there until it dies. And that's what it feels like when you're done. You're done, you're like, whoa, that was tough.
That was a ride.
That was a ride.
So did you start to feel it more the longer you were with him for 6 years? It was starting off you didn't feel, and then maybe 4 or 5, 6?
I was there through all the, the scandal and everything. So it's a lot, but, and the injuries, the knee, so there's there's some ups and downs, but I enjoyed every, minute of it. It's a great challenge. It's, I always say, he's was my greatest student. He's my, most talented student, my best student, my toughest student, my most frustrating student. It's like everything all in one, and you never knew what the day was gonna bring. The first time I went to, this is a great story. The first time I went to work with him, I showed up down there in Orlando. He'd called me up, like you said, and then he said, "Can you come down to Orlando?" I show up down there, and he's waiting for me at the end of the driveway, and before. He's got his clubs on a cart. He's ready to go. I drive up, and the first thing he does is he tells me 3 things I teach that he doesn't agree with.
That's how you start off a relationship.
You're the one that just called me to help you, and I thought, wow. I thought this is going to be an incredible ride.
Do you remember? Remember the 3 things?
Not really, because I thought. Now's not the time to have a knockdown drag out, because honestly I was thinking to myself, you really don't know what you're talking about anyway, so we'll just let this go, and we got to build a relationship first. And then those 3 things he came around on all of them. It wasn't an issue, but it's just that's like setting the the boundaries. It's like you don't just walk out, okay, this is what we're going to work on today. It doesn't quite work like that when you're with Tiger Woods.
Take us through, because we've all heard the stories of how hard he works, and what is a typical day like in an off week? You go down to Isleworth. What's the day like? What time are we waking up? What are we doing sun up to sundown?
Well, he doesn't sleep much. So he gets he didn't sleep but maybe 4 or 5 hours a night. So he's up early, goes to the gym, and he would be in the gym by 6:30 in the morning, and then I'd be rolling out about 8 or 8:30 when he'd be coming back. Then we'd have breakfast, and we'd be on the practice tee by 8:45 or 9. Usually it's short game first, like pitch shots. Generally what he would start off with, and then go to the full swing, hit full swing on the driving range, and then he would want to go play 9 holes. We'd go play 9 holes, go eat lunch, back to the driving range, hit more balls, go play 9 more holes, go work on the putting. After that, some more short game. I remember the first time I worked with him, we went back to the house like at 6 o'clock at night, and I go back there, and I went up, take a shower, I come downstairs, he's in the gym.
Wow.
And I said, what are we doing? And he says, when I'm done with my shoulder exercise, we'll go eat dinner. And that was pretty much like it was pretty much every day.
Every day.
Day in,
Yeah,
day out.
yeah.
And you guys,
so it was a lot. But, a lot of Mark O'Meara worked. I tell you what, Mark O'Meara probably worked as hard or harder than Tiger. But if you count in all the gym time too, which I think a lot of times was overdone with Tiger, like a lot of times, we're at the Masters and I'm like, do we really need to go to the gym for like 3 hours? Couldn't we go for like an hour and a half and maybe practice our putting a little bit?
Yeah.
that was like an obsession though, right? It's like you had to have that to operate.
100%. 100%. Well, you just had to have it. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he always constantly has to be doing something.
Correct.
He doesn't
getting
sit still.
better.
Yeah,
Sitting still is going backwards type deal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because there is no such thing as staying the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. Because if you're staying the same, somebody's catching you. And they never caught him.
And you as a coach, I would assume when you're coaching Tiger, you got to be on call at all times. If he finishes a golf tournament, you're in Dallas, he's like, hey, I hated the way my irons were this week. I need some work. You got to be ready to go at any time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, at any time.
Was that common? Like after a tournament, if you spent some time like,
I
need you in Orlando tomorrow?
Well, I was at most tournaments, but he would tell me kind of when we're going to practice. Like I kind of knew with the schedule, because if he's playing, the major, we're going to practice the whole week before the major. So I know that. The only thing I don't know is what day we're going to the major, but we're leaving from Orlando anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we're practicing the whole week before a major. At the end of the year, when the season ends, he says, okay, well, we're going to be off before the, until the first of the year. And, Christmas, he's calling me and, hey, can you get down here tomorrow? I knew we'd never made it one time till the first of the year. He's just ready to go. And then, the week off, he kind of knew if he took 2 weeks off, the first week would be doing, taking a little time off, but doing his corporate obligations if he had any, and then the second week we'd be practicing. So any 2 week off was always, the second week was full-time practice, like the schedule I just described.
Would you ever do anything other than golf? Was there any downtime at all?
Pretty, just at lunchtime when we'd.
Yeah, we had lunch.
No, they had a basketball court in the.
Yeah.
And then I'd kick his butt at free throw shooting. I'd piss him off.
What's his hoops game like?
Pretty good, but I'm better. I'm better. We would play horse, and he'd take me out there like 4 feet, 5 feet past the 3-point line where I couldn't throw it that far. And as soon as he missed, I'd just go to the free throw line and I'd just stand there all day until he missed one.
Crafty vet.
Just wear him down. Just wear him down.
I'm just curious, inside your lessons, you're working on full swing or things like that, right?
Yeah.
Was he more like, how did you communicate with him? Was he more like technical? He responded better to like positions, seeing it on video and things like that? Or was it more like watching the ball flight and going around that?
I probably used a video in 6 years, maybe like 3 times.
Wow.
Okay?
Interesting.
So we never really did that. Not that I didn't do it. It's just that, I didn't. It could be, honestly, I tried not to do it because he would see something that I didn't want him to see, and he would start working on that instead of staying focused on what we're supposed to be doing. So I didn't use video a lot. I mean, you didn't have really the launch monitors then. I mean, it's not like, it's not like they've taught. I mean, they haven't taught me anything, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't see if it's 3.6. I might think it might. I can see it's too much into out. I don't. It's few degrees too much into out. Whether it's 3.0 or 3.4, I don't know. But it's the same information that you're using today. You still, you're just eyeballing it back then. But yeah, he liked technical for sure. He's. And he always has something to think about. There's people that say, you just, I call it Danny be the ball, from Caddyshack, just be the ball. I mean, I'm like, who's the role model for Danny be the ball? Nicklaus thought about his swing every time he ever hit a ball. Tom Watson thought about his swing every time he hit a ball. Tiger Woods never hit a shot when he wasn't thinking about his swing. Mm-hmm. Mark O'Meara never hit a shot without thinking about it, except for one little stretch Mark went in there like everybody says you're thinking too much. And Mark was out there and he's like, so he go to the sports psychologist and he's just going to visualize. Okay, visualize. And finally, after about a month, he says, Hank, he said, I've been visualizing these perfect shots every single time for a month, and I haven't hit a one of them. he said, I gotta go back to thinking about my swing.
This strategy is shit.
Yeah. He said, so Tiger always thought about his swing all the time.
Yeah, he feels like, and I think Phil Mickelson actually said this one. He's like, he's the only. There's two types of golfers. There's artists and there's technicians.
Yeah.
He's the best at each to ever live.
Yeah.
And I think
that's good.
That's probably
that's a good analogy.
Yeah. That's probably a good way to put it.
Well, we do have to talk a little bit because y'all had 6 years, 6 majors.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And then after y'all split up, you did write a book.
Yeah.
Called The Big Miss. First off, I want to know where the title came from.
Big miss. Got to avoid the big miss.
Okay. Because it can be taken a few different ways.
Yeah,
obviously,
that's why it's a good title.
Yeah, it's a very good
double
title.
entendre there.
Yeah. How long before the book came out? How were you thinking about doing this for a while? At what point did you decide, you know what, I'm going to do this?
No, I mean, I just when I was done, coaching Tiger, I just I wanted to write about my experiences. I mean, I figured I might catch a little heat, but I mean, I'm not the first coach that ever wrote a book. I mean, Phil Jackson wrote more than one book, and Joe Torre wrote a book. I mean, a lot of coaches write books. And I'm like when people said you shouldn't have written a book, I'm like, am I the only coach that shouldn't have written a book, or should all coaches not have written a book, or is it just me that shouldn't have written a book? So I didn't, really understand that. I mean, and I looked at it as like, you know what, they're my experiences too, and not just his experiences. They were my experiences, and the book was really about the greatness, that is Tiger Woods. Because I'm number one comment I ever got on the book, and it's a number one sports book of all time, and people would say to me, and they were all Tiger Woods fans. They go, I'm a bigger fan now than I was before, because it was really about the greatness that is Tiger Woods, and it wasn't anything more than that. But it was just great experiences. I wanted to share them, and I loved writing that book, and I loved the comments I got from it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's the only one of the few guys in the world that can give you an actual inside look on what that's like.
Yeah, people speculate all the time about him, but they're guessing. I mean, I was there. I spent 150 days a year with him for 6 years, and he was incredible.
Yeah, there's not many people that can.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just the experience was unbelievable to stand next to that every day. I mean, I would like stand on that driving range and I think there is no way these guys can beat him.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I just think there's no possible way. And he wasn't. Honestly, he wasn't nearly as good on the golf course. I mean, nobody is. But I've told this to a few people. I said, I've taught over 200 touring pros. The worst player at taking it from the driving range to the golf course that I've ever coached is Tiger Woods.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Go ahead and save that one, because that's going to get, that's going to get
wild.
Because I'm going to tell you what, the game he had he won 45% of his time. He teed it up when I helped him. On the driving range, you thought there's no way this guy could ever lose. But you're always going to have regression. I'm just saying, like, he hardly ever missed a shot.
Wow.
Ever. Like, he would go on the golf course, and he'd miss a couple. But you gotta understand, he'd go through a warm up, all the time and never miss a shot. Like, ever.
Yeah. So okay,
that's actually great. That's cool.
That leads me to a question, because I mean, I say this all the time when we're doing TV stuff. Like, you walk up and down the range. Now, not to that level, but very few tour players really struggle on the range. I mean, that's why they're at that level. But Tiger, as you said, rarely mishit a shot. But yet, he struggled off the first tee about as bad as anybody.
Exactly.
Why?
Pressure.
Tiger, I mean, but like you said, there's no one in the world that should be able to beat him the way he is. And then he goes to the first tee, and he's nervous and
I would see it
pressure.
all the time. I'm like, what? Where in the world did that come from? Yeah. I mean, but, it is usually in the opening rounds, okay? Because in the opening rounds, you can lose the tournament, but you can't win it. So there's more pressure on Tiger, and it's just a phenomena about him. Like, he never hit a bad shot. Like, people would talk about his driving or whatever. Okay, tell me the drives he's ever hit that cost him a tournament. Never. There is none. He never hit one. Okay, but yet the first tee shot, like most guys, they can hit the first tee shot, they can't hit the last tee shot.
Yeah, that's
he never missed when he had to.
Well, you hear so many people say, like, the first hole at Torrey, like, he's always struggled. The first hole at Augusta National, he struggled. I was like, if you put that at number 12, he probably stripes it right down the middle every time.
Right. And the thing is, at the beginning of the round, he had wiggle room. Like, he could struggle and still overcome it. At the end, he couldn't do that. So he didn't.
I mean, did he make 3 double bogeys at Torrey?
Three double bogeys.
And won the golf tournament on
and
number 1?
And they were just like, and on the driving range, those warm-ups were flawless.
Yeah.
And he got on that first tee. But, I mean, that just shows he's human. I mean, he was nervous. I mean, I could tell when he was nervous. Everybody is. But he never looked nervous at the end of the round. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's when people feel is at the beginning and at the end when things matter. And then here's the guy who's better than any athlete, period, in the world, and dealing with the end. When most people just melt and collapse, and the first tee was the one that was the only thing that gave him issues. You guys ever like talk about that? Be like, dude, just first tee, just tee it down a little and maybe just slap it out there.
Well, I mean, but I mean, I just kind of just tried to, you things like that, you don't really want to bring your awareness to it. You just kind of try to ignore it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, what in the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to fix that because I've never seen him do it before.
Exactly. Like people, and people say, "Oh, he's hitting so bad." I'm like, you haven't stood there and watched him practice because I mean, the guy never misses a shot. I mean, he's just amazing, and I mean, that's the thing, because when I say that, it's like when I say of all the players that I've ever coached, he's the worst at taking from the practice tee to the court. I mean, that's a compliment.
That's
unreal. I mean, that's like the highest compliment because he was just so good. But it's like you guys noticed it. Everybody knows that first tee shot. Yeah, he struggled with it. And there were times when I thought, man, I just hope we can get this one in play. And Steve Williams would say the same thing. He'd go, man, if we could just we get off to par on the first hole, we'll be okay. And I'm like, listen, he's Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about? He's Tiger Woods. But it's like, the pressure at the beginning, especially in a major, because that's where you can shoot yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your 6 years with Tiger, was there one event that stands out to you where like that's the best Tiger I've ever seen? This is when all aspects of the game, everything we'd work on was firing on all cylinders. That's the best version of Tiger.
Oh wow, that's a you guys got great questions. That's why you're good at this, you guys.
Or is it all of them?
Well, no, I mean
it's
it's a lot of them. But the American Express over in England, he was pretty flawless. It wasn't like the biggest tournament. It was a big tournament, but I think it was a World Golf Championship. But it wasn't a major. He was pretty darn good there for sure. I don't think he hardly missed a shot the whole tournament. And then, he didn't win at Oakmont at the Open, but I think he came second to Cabrera. And he hit 17 greens on Saturday's round on that golf course. That's not the greatest golf course for him, and that was pretty special. But the best tournament ever was Hoy Lake for sure. And he played that tournament, but he played that tournament with pretty much irons only. He kind of decided that in the practice round, and it just worked out, perfect for him because he couldn't get a driver past the bunkers. A 3-wood would go into the bunkers. His iron would be just short of the bunkers, and he's the only one that could do that because he's the only one that had that low stinger shot. Anybody else, if they tried to hit iron off the tee, they couldn't hit it low enough to run it out there, so they'd be too far back, and they either had to hit driver or 3-wood. If you're going to hit 3-wood, you might as well hit driver. So that gave him an advantage on that golf course, and he played so well there. It was crazy. I mean, he held a 4-iron on one round, and I mean, it's just nuts.
He only hit 3 drivers.
That's clinical
right?
iron. Yeah, was it 3? I mean, that would go down probably in history as like
there's
the
one,
greatest iron
the one
performance.
par 5, I think, on the back 9 that whatever, it's like, there's 2 fairways to hit it on. It's the only one he pulled the driver out on.
Good time to pull it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could talk about Tiger all day, but we got to switch to another man.
Let's go.
We go from Tiger, who rarely mishit it, to a guy that rarely hits it in Charles
Period.
Barkley. One of our favorites who, mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
First off, we're not bashing Charles Barkley because there's no one better on the planet than Sir Charles. But your experience with him on the Haney project, we got to talk about that.
It was he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's first off, he's one of the funniest guys. He's just he's a great guy, and he's one of the most charitable people. He's the absolute role model for how every sports personality or celebrity should act and treat people, because you know it, because you guys have been around him. And he he'll take pictures with everybody, says hello to everybody. I mean, he'll buy drinks for everybody. I mean, he's the absolute best. And he's the one that introduced my wife Suzanne to me. So it was when we were filming the Haney project, and Suzanne was actually working for a friend. She was like a part-time limo driver, and she wanted to drive us that night, and Charles decided he wanted to drive himself, and it was a night that he shouldn't have driven himself. But anyway, so Suzanne ended up driving my agent, Jeremy, and I, and then 9 months later we got married. And Charles never lets me forget it, because he's like the whole reason I met Suzanne. So yeah, he's my favorite. I mean, and other guys I had on my show were great. I had Michael Phelps and Ray Romano and Adam Levine. I mean, I had, great celebrities. Rush Limbaugh was on. I mean, it was incredible. But people always say, I loved your show that, when you had Charles Barkley. I've been like, I should have just quit after Charles, because he's like, Charles he's so good for golf. And it's so great that he's, playing better now, and he can, enjoying the game, because I'll tell you what, he loves golf and golf loves him. And he's the best. I mean, I love the guy.
I believe I asked him recently about working with you, and he said it all started at Tiger's wedding.
Yeah,
I believe, correct?
Yeah,
you said something about working with him, and Tiger said, "Be careful what you ask for. Hank's a worker."
Yeah.
And the next day he said, "Hank damn near killed me." He goes, "I wasn't going to quit, but he damn near killed me on the range."
Yeah, I know. He did. He wouldn't let that on when it was happening, though. I lined those balls up for him. I used to line them up in a row. We'd line up. The guys on my staff would go out there. They lined up 1,000 balls in a row on like short tees, and he walked out the door and looked at those balls, and he worked hard though, and he's obviously he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. So he's used to working, but he was fun, and he's great. He's so good on TV. I know he's great on your guys' podcast when you had him on. I mean, he's just he doesn't have to. It just rolls off his tongue. Like Ray Romano's a comedian. He's a good friend of mine. Ray would come up with some great lines when I had him on my show, but you could tell he'd thought about the line. Like Charles, it's just flowing.
No one is better on TV, in my opinion, than Charles.
And there's no one like Charles knows what he's getting into. Going, he's like, I stink at golf. This is going to be embarrassing. He's willing to just put himself out there in front of the whole country to be made fun of, and he handled the whole thing
he had the greatest,
laughing about it.
Yeah, he had the greatest line ever to start the show. We did a little interview at a restaurant in Philadelphia, and he said to me, "Hank," he said, "the Golf Channel says I've got the worst swing in the world." He said, "But they couldn't have seen everybody in the world."
There is.
And I said, "Yeah,
they might not need to.
There's probably somebody worse than you, but nobody's ever seen him, Charles."
Oh, that's good. The other guys you got, like Ray Romano, Rush Limbaugh, all those guys. How did it work? Were you involved in that? Like, hey, I'd like to work. If there's some guys out there in the pool, here's one I'd like to work with, or they just come to you and say, "Hey, you got this guy."
We just shot for the moon, and when we tried for presidents and worked our way down from there. And we did pretty good with Rush Limbaugh had 50 million listeners a week, and Michael Phelps the greatest Olympian of all time, and I mean Charles is the best, and Ray Romano. I mean it was pretty incredible, the list of guests we got.
Out of the guys you worked with on that show, who improved the most?
Adam Levine, but he had the farthest to go because he was just like he was like a beginner. And my wife was like, you got to help Adam. And I'm like, I didn't even know who he was,
Got to help Adam. Get a picture.
You got to help Adam Levine. And then when I had him on my show, all these people, "Oh, I love your show. My wife even watched it." Yeah, it's because Adam Levine's on.
Yeah. I can see Suzanne. You should watch, help Adam Levine, Bradley Cooper, Brad Pitt.
A lot of women got interested in the game of golf during that season than ever before.
So but he improved a lot, and he loves the game now. So it's fun. It's great when celebrities play the game.
He's up at Gaza now.
Yeah.
He's into it. And they all had to feel easy after Chuck. I mean, they had to be like, "Oh my God, this guy!" I say something, and it kind of happens.
The hardest one, Ray was tough because Ray. I got some great stories here about Ray, but he, they told me he's like a 10 handicap, okay, and I'm like, okay, and his goal is to break 80. I said, all right, well, I mean, a 10 handicap shoots 82. I mean, I don't even have to coach him. I can just tell him what club to hit, what shot to hit, aim it over here a little more. I mean, I can get him to break 80. The first time we go out and play, he shoots 117.
I'm a 10.
And I said to his guy, he's got a guy following him around. I said, "You're not a 10." He said, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I said, "He just shot 117." He said, "Well," he said, "come to think of it, I can't remember the last time he broke 90." I said, "A 10 handicap is supposed to average 82." So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to help him. I can just see the writing on the wall. I'm going to catch so much crap over this show. I'm going to get him like 7 shots better for a net of 10 shots worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and because his handicap wasn't that. But anyway, he the last day of the show, he shot 80.
Wow.
The last day of the show. And then there was like 4 times when he had a chance to break 80 since that time. Okay. And he never did it. And he'd call me up every time. He literally on the phone said, "Hank, I'm on the 18th hole.
Oh, God.
I got a no-hitter going.
If I make par on 18, I break 80." Or he'd text me. I said, "Ray, just play the hole. Just one shot at a time. Just play it out. Don't text me and call me when you're doing it." Every time he'd do it. Every single time. And, then I'd get the text back. And he'd go, "Hit it in the bunker, couldn't get out."
Yep.
And he'd shoot, 81, 80, 82. I mean, every time would just blow up in the last hole. And then last year, he sends me a message, and he's filming the whole thing. And he said, "I just want you to know, I got a putt on the 18th hole to break 80. And it's like a 15-foot putt." I'm thinking, first off, he's got the yips. Okay, there's no chance he's gonna make this putt. And I'm waiting, And anyway, he sends me another message, and he's like this, and then all of a sudden he looks up and he goes, "I did it!" And he's got the biggest. He made the putt.
Probably the highlight of his life.
Oh, it was one of the highlights of mine too as a coach. It was like so cool.
That's awesome.
He has tried forever to break 80, and he finally did it.
The breaking 80 is a big milestone for someone that's
Big
never
deal.
done it. And that age, like they didn't grow up playing golf.
For sure.
Do you still keep up with any of those guys?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
used to
I keep
work with?
all of them actually. So it's like my lifelong projects.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, they were the Haney project for a few weeks, but now they're my lifelong projects.
Yeah,
but they're all great guys, so it's fun.
I got one more before we get to the E9. Do you have any interest in coaching tour players anymore?
No, not really. But but it's not that I don't like teaching touring pros or coaching touring pros, but where do you go from Tiger Woods?
It's a great point.
Nowhere but down.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
You teaching any AMs right now? You doing any teaching at all?
I am teaching now. I started teaching again, so I built a studio at my house, and I've got an outdoor area that Celebrity Greens did for me. So I got a whole short game area, an indoor studio, and I started coaching it, and I'm having fun doing it. So I love coaching. I haven't done it in a long time, but I've started up again. It kind of needed something to do. But I think my touring pro days are done. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, but yeah.
Might have to come check this lab
Different
out.
beast.
Yeah, you like it.
Check this out. All right, let's
I'll
get
give
to
you a project.
Exactly.
Make sleeves not suck anymore.
That's tough to do. All right, we got the E9, 9 fun questions about Hank Haney. We ask this to everyone.
All right.
Trade lives with anyone for a day, dead or alive. You can be anyone. Who's it going to be?
Oh my gosh, Ben Hogan.
All right.
Just flush it all day.
I just like
That'd be
to,
fun.
I'd just like to just feel what he's doing, see what he's doing. Yeah, I think that would be it.
Yeah, that would be a nice one. I'd sign up for that as well. It's been a while since I felt that middle. All right,
Get
next
some of
one.
our producers' clubs. You'll never miss
What's
the
that?
middle.
Yeah, our producer has got some bazookas like you've never seen before for a new set of irons. Like basically like the wedge is a hybrid and all the way through the set. I might need to be in the market for some of those. But all right, we're talking about pickle. You got the pickle hat on.
Yeah.
Chances we see Hank Haney golf instructor turn into Hank Haney pickleball instructor.
That's a possibility.
Yeah,
I don't know how much money you can make coaching pickleball.
Get the right guy.
My rate's a little higher in golf, but I you know what? If you can coach one thing, you can coach anything. All you have to do is just learn the fundamentals, learn the techniques, and once you get that, then you can apply the same principles that you use in coaching. So I feel like I got the coaching thing down, and I'm learning the pickleball.
I know you study it too.
Yeah, I do.
We
Study.
played.
I study like I study golf. So I like to say I'm a pro level pickleball understanding. I'm just not a pro level execution.
I love it. All right, we can stay on the coaching thing here for a second. My next one. I know your son Henry's a big hockey player,
Yeah.
but let's just say for a second he really wanted to be a golfer and he wanted to take his game to the next level. You could send him to any instructor in the world other than yourself. Who would you send him to?
Another good question. Oh man, alive. I would have to send him to one of the instructors that's worked with me over the years. So probably Steve Johnson.
Steve Johnson.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you'd say.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good question to ask teachers who they trust after
That's
themselves.
a good question. Man, you guys are good at this.
I'll wait for this doozy.
Yeah, hold on, it'll get worse.
What's more meaningful or more flattering in your career? All right, coaching the number one player, winning multiple major championships, winning all the awards you won, or being played by Jason Sudeikis on an episode of Saturday Night Live? Did you see the skit?
No.
Oh, you're not even aware of it?
Uh-uh.
It was when you were doing with Barkley. Barkley was the host, and
I
Sudeikis
do
came in
remember.
as you.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
If you go on SNL, that they're imitating, you know what I
that's
mean?
pretty
You've
cool.
done some. And
Yeah.
he went on to play a little character named Ted Lasso. So you might have an argument that that was lifted from you.
That's definitely pretty cool. I mean,
I didn't know that. I got to check that one out.
Oh yeah, he's in there like early Jason Sudeikis, got the Nike hat on. Charles comes in and basically just make fun of his swing the whole time, Chuck going along with it. And you're like, he's terrible. I don't know what to do.
a lot happens to you when you're standing on that driving range at Pinehurst with Mark O'Meara.
It's a weird where this life can take you, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, next one. Most talented player you ever worked with that never made it on tour?
Oh boy. The best ball striker ever that I coached, one of the best pro or anything, was Trip Keeney. I mean, he could really hit it, but it was like one day one of our friends came in the pro shop, and he said, "Trip's playing great. He's gonna win the U.S. Amateur, or he's gonna win the Mid Amateur or the Western, or whatever it was he was playing." He says he's really playing great. And Steve Johnson looked at the guy and said, "What? Are they not going to have putting in those tournaments?" So I didn't think he could ever make it on tour because he just he didn't have the whole game. Mm-hmm. But ball striking wise, he
could hit it. There's no doubt about that.
But there's a lot more to the game than that.
He's had a hell of an amateur run.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
for
kind
sure,
of playing
for
doing
sure.
some cool things
Yeah.
and some cool experiences playing
Yeah.
amateur golf.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
All right, next one from me. Being around Tiger Woods as long as you were around some pretty influential people, I gotta assume,
Yeah.
during that time. Give me one like pinch me moment where not Tiger, like someone that's with Tiger, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sharing space with this person.
Oh man, I mean, all of them. To be honest with you, I mean, Jordan, Shaq. I mean, dinner one night with Kobe and Tiger, and I thought to myself, wow, there's two of these guys like this.
Really? That was it. Just you, Tiger, and Kobe?
I mean, I'm like, these guys are both the same.
Whoa.
In like what way? Just their demeanor? Or?
Yeah.
Wanting to beat everyone's head in and not settling for anything less.
Yeah.
That's
That's a
awesome.
cool. I mean,
Wow.
you, Tiger, Kobe.
Did you even talk that dinner?
Did you speak?
Yeah, I just sat there. I pretty much just sat there. But yeah, for sure. That was definitely. I mean, that one stands out. It really does.
That's incredible.
Those two get
Can't
lumped
imagine.
together a lot in comparisons,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just clutch-wise.
For sure.
All right, this one's really simple. Obviously, Tiger's been through a lot. We see him playing with Charlie at the PNC, possibly making a comeback again. Will Tiger Woods ever win again on the PGA Tour?
I say yes.
Awesome.
I say he will win again. All he has to do is be able to walk 72 holes. Now, I don't know if that'll happen, but if he can walk 72 holes, he can find somewhere to win. There's no doubt in my mind he'll find somewhere to win. And he loves the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to climb the mountain. And this will be, the back was the leg, winning on a broken leg was a big mountain. Coming back to win the Masters on the back was a big mountain. This would be the biggest mountain, and he's Tiger Woods.
And he's a hell of a lot closer to that than I would have guessed a couple months ago before I saw him down there in Florida with Charlie.
It's just a question
He's
of whether or not
swinging
he
it.
can walk for 72 holes.
I haven't seen him walk yet. That's really the only
That's the
question
thing,
mark.
huh?
But he's swinging it nice.
Yeah.
All right. Last one for me. Most impressive thing you ever saw Tiger Woods do with a golf club that nobody else got to witness?
Oh man, that's one I easily think about. So we're on the second hole at Isleworth. you guys, I don't know if you guys ever played there, but it's the hardest golf course I've ever seen in my life. And, its course rating's like 77.5 or something. And he's on the back tee on number 2. And it's like 240-yard par 3 or
Crazy
something.
shoot.
Crazy
Right?
shoot.
Yeah,
Ridiculous. Ridiculously hard shot. And he's playing 2-ball worse ball. Okay? And he hits the first one in there like this. And he hits the second one in there like this.
245 into the wind.
Yeah.
Through it. And that shoot, I don't know if you've played there. The
I just
shoot
seen-
looks
I
like
haven't
it's
played
6
all
yards
this.
wide.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
it
just seen
is.
the picture people send it to me and tell me.
Yeah. Hardest golf course I've ever seen. As far back as you can go. He shoots 2 under par, 2-ball worse ball.
Worst ball. That's a fun game to play. It takes forever and it's hard. But so you were playing him, what, you just play straight up normal, and you're playing against his worst ball. He's got to. So he's got to hit 2, and he takes the worst each time.
Wow, that's
it's like
impressive.
a real opposite scramble.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's good. After he hits the first one, you're probably like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it again.
I played like, as good as I can play from the back tees and shot like 37, and I lost by 3 shots, and he played 2-ball worse ball.
To his worst ball.
Wow. Incredible.
Yep, that's doing it.
All right, last one. We talked about your book earlier, The Big Miss. Let's just say you're going to write a book about Charles Barkley's golf game. What would the title be?
Oh my gosh. Not the best.
Perfect. So
Try
Not
again.
the best. Not the best. That would be a good title.
Very good.
I love
that
it.
book's yet to be written.
I tell you what, Hank Haney, this
This
has
was
been
fun.
awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
it's my pleasure. You guys are great. I love you guys. Thanks.
Thank
Thank you, Hank.
All right. Well, that was Hank Haney joining us on Golf Subpar. Sleaze, wow. First off, I think the quote that most people will take away from that is, of all the tour players I've worked with, no one was worse at taking it from the range to the course than Tiger Woods. And that's a compliment. The way, I think
Yeah.
people will read that and be like, oh my God, this guy's a dick. I can't believe he'd say that. He's the best player ever. But that's just how good he was on the range when there was no pressure at all.
I think that I think that may be the biggest compliment you can give him. It's like, as good as he was in tournaments, and he was winning an unbelievable clip with Hank, it didn't even come close to what we saw on the range when no one's around. That's why I'm getting into the question, like, what's the most impressive thing, you've seen from Tiger that nobody else saw, and things like that. And also, I thought it was interesting hearing him talk about it, because, like, from my vantage, all right, you got Tiger Woods. He's already been with Butch Harmon. We know what he's done. People will look at that golf swing and say that's the best golf swing of all time. Look at his records with it and things like that. When you take Tiger on as a pupil, given where he was in his career, I think there's arguably nothing but downside. What can you do, like, with the way he was winning major championships and how many he was winning by? Like, what can you do as a teacher to people like, oh, he's better now? It's almost all downside. If he doesn't win at that same clip, or he starts losing for a while and doesn't win for a stretch of time, people are going to look at you first and say, you ruined it.
Well, you're going to get criticized. You're not going to get praised. Tiger's just great when he plays well.
If he wins everything, it's like, yeah, you're just doing, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You got the most talented player ever.
But once again, I feel like when you talk to all these very well-known swing instructors, they all kind of go back to their start. And it's kind of like, look, I got kind of lucky. Mark O'Meara stumbles upon the range there at Pinehurst. Somebody wants to have him take a look at him. And here's Hank Haney, goes out there, helps Mark O'Meara. And next thing you know, he's guiding him to helping him win 2 major championships. And then that leads to working with Tiger Woods.
He didn't even want to go out there and help him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go out, and it turns out, that kind of launched him. That's the hardest thing with all these teachers. You could have a wealth of knowledge. You'd be the best teacher on the planet. If nobody knows about you and nobody's willing to trust you and kind of put your name behind it, you got to have that first guy. And Mark, it launched a hell of a career. Yeah. And realistically, that's probably where the Tiger, relationship started.
Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that one, because I know we did. It was a lot of fun out there. But Sleaze, it's time to get to a little gambling. Our people over at FanDuel, the best sports book in all the land. Not our best week at Pebble Beach. It started off looking kind of promising. You had Seamus Power.
I thought Seamus was going to shock the world. I was getting some tweets. I was like, don't jinx it, but this is looking weird. He had a 5-shot lead at one point.
Yeah, through 36 holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Jason Day, who was 4 back going into Sunday. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's make a move here. At the end of the day, didn't get it done, but we're going to bounce back.
Should have had Hoge.
Because that's, yep.
Damn
How do
it.
you not take TCU every week?
Dude, I should. Starting now. Go.
But it's also Super Bowl week. We got Super Bowl. We got the WM Phoenix Open. We got so much stuff to go on. It's going to be incredible. FanDuel Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. In addition to the deal for the Super Bowl you will hear about shortly, we also have a special giveaway for any listener who signs up for FanDuel using promo code SUBPAR. Just create an account and be entered to win a Get Amongst It hat and shirt combo of your choice in honor of the one event of the year that most definitely gets amongst it. 3 winners will be selected, and you can enter from now through the Super Bowl. I mean, how good is that? Free Get Amongst It gear?
Free gear, and you win money.
Use code SUBBAR if you want to be eligible. To celebrate, new customers can bet $5 to win $280 in cash on either a team to win when you use promo code SUBPAR when registering. That's right, you'll get your winnings in cold, hard cash, because we know cash is always better than free bets. All right, Sleaze, I think we're on opposite sides of the Super Bowl.
We are,
year.
which is good. One of us will
One
win.
of us is going to win.
Someone's going to win.
We're going to be right on the show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's the way it should be.
But I just think the Cincinnati Bengals, team of destiny. I like getting the points. Even though it is technically a home game for the LA Rams, I think Cincinnati's going to show up. I think the crowd will be there. I just love Joe Burrow. He's incredible. Their offense, if they can protect him, give him some time, keep Aaron Donald off his back, we're going to be okay. Go Bengals.
Yeah, betting against Joe Cool, tough right now. I mean, has anyone ever skyrocketed up the coolest guy in sports leaderboard faster than Joe Burrow? So I hate betting against him, but I just feel like for that reason you just said, home game for LA, more or less. Mm-hmm. Also, the front four, and if you're going to point to one weakness on Cincy, it's probably that O-line. I mean, dude, Joe Burrow gets his ass kicked every single game, and he still somehow pulls it out every single time. But I just think with all the money they've spent, all the signings they had, Odell, Vaughn, all those guys, I just feel like time is now for LA. And Stafford been waiting for forever, and it's just the year of the dogs. Georgia seems to be winning everything. So I'm going to just probably go with my gut, stick with the Rammies.
All right. Well, what a Sunday it's going to be. WM Phoenix Open, and then we lead it right into the Super Bowl, one of my favorite days of the year. Make sure you go onto the app and see which prop bets you would also like to bet. You can bet the color of the Gatorade or just a regular touchdown prop. There's all kinds of things. Get amongst it with our people over at FanDuel.
There's no better place to bet Super Bowl 56 than FanDuel Sportsbook. Promotions for new and existing customers. They've got, of course, the best bet in all of sports. Same game parlays where you can combine small bets for bigger wins. Tons of Super Bowl props and more. Tell you what I am going to be betting. I don't know what I'm going to bet it with on my same game parlay. Cooper Kupp over.
Yeah, you're big on the Cooper
for
Kupp.
$8 billion. Yeah, he's the best kept secret in football.
He is. Don't miss your chance to turn $5 into $280 in cash. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and use promo code SUBPAR to make every moment more this Super Bowl. Again, promo code SUBPAR exclusively on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 years and older and present in Arizona, Connecticut, New Jersey, or New York. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $280. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, or 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York.
Or just embrace the fact that you love to gamble. And you don't got to call any of them.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, it's time to make our picks for the WM Phoenix Open. The Thunderbird, I'm going to give the Thunderbird the lead this week.
I'll take the honor. Okay, and I got a theme here on my two bets. I'm going to go one near the top of the charts, and I'm going to go one a little bit further down. But both are champions, and both play this place very well. First off, I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama, 16-1. So he's a two-time champ, 2016 and 2017. Seems to be a top 20 machine around here. He hits it high, he hits it far, he does all the things that tend to suit TPC Scottsdale. And getting him at 16-1, I think that's a pretty good odd. He's been about as successful around here as pretty much anybody. Do you want me to go to my second one, or do you want to fire off your big dog?
I'm going off a big dog. He's a little bit down the list, but since I did just play the golf course and I get a feeling of who's going to play really well around this place.
Inside.
I think this place is going to be very, very firm this week. I mean, the weather's obviously not going to be an issue. They can get it as firm as they want, which I think they will. And not many hit it higher than this guy. He's ready to break through. Scotty Scheffler, 27-1. Love him this week.
Only a matter of time. Frog did it. Longhorn can do it too. Yeah, he does hit it to the moon. Hideki too, which is that kind of seems to play in every single year out here. That's a big advantage, hitting it high, hit it far off the tee, which is a little bit surprising as to why I'm going to go with my next guy and the success that he's had crazy success around here. Webb Simpson going off at 34-1. I mean, get it while it's hot on Webb Simpson, 34-1, 2020 champ, right? Just won here recently. Lost in the playoff to Hideki in 2017. He's damn near a two-time winner too. He doesn't strike as the type of guy that would embrace kind of the whole culture of the Phoenix Open. Like, it's wild, it's raucous. He's a little more mellow, a little more chill. But, dude, he gets it done. He puts the eyes out of it out here. These greens are perfect. I just think Webb Simpson, I mean, at 34-1, that's a hell of a run for a guy that's one of the better players around this joint.
Yeah, he just hasn't been himself the last
been a little off.
6 to 10 months. It's been a little bit of a struggle. But
coming back to
him.
a happy place, though.
Yes, he is. All right, my guy, I'm going pretty far down the board here.
Love it.
He's also a past champion. I think his game's starting to turn a little bit. I talked to his swing instructor, Mark Blackburn. Things are getting better. The only thing that could hold him back is karma. for putting Little Dick as my Bluetooth in my phone.
Could
but
be the
Gary
boost he
Woodland's
needs.
going off at 90-1.
90-1. I'll say this. Went out, played golf on Saturday. We had a great crew, some big names. I'm going to drop some names here. JT, Ricky, Gary Woodland, Max Homa, amongst a couple other buddies out at Whisper Rock. Cold, windy, nasty was playing tough. Gary Woodland with the best round of the day, and he was in the group behind, but it was clean, apparently. So something to be said for that. He's in good form. He's, playing some pranks, a little LD on the old console. So the kid's right. He's in a happy spot too.
All right. Well, if y'all are out at the WM Phoenix Open getting amongst it, make sure you come say hi to us. We'll be out there all week having an incredible time, and we'll talk to you next week on Golf Subpar.